Good afternoon, boys and girls. Today we're going to look at expressions. Our I can statement is I can write simple expressions that record calculations with numbers and interpret numerical expressions without evaluating them. So if we take a look, we see write as a numerical expression and write in word form. So expressions can be given to us two different ways. We can write it in numbers or we can write it with words. So they have written this first one in words and we have to write it with numbers. So let's take a look. It says add 5 and 6, then multiply by 2. So that word then shows me that it's going to be at least 2 steps. And the first thing that has to happen is add 5 and 6. Well, using our orders of operation, we know that addition doesn't usually come before multiplication. But we know that if we put it in parentheses, then that will have to happen first. So in our parentheses, we're going to put 5 plus 6. And then after our parentheses, we're going to put times 2, since that has to happen second. Then our next one, they have given it to us in number form or numerical form, and we are going to write it in word form. So looking at that expression, the first thing that has to happen is what? I see parentheses, so yes, the parentheses are going to have to happen first. What is taking place in the parentheses? Addition. So if we write this one similar to the one we just looked at before, we could say add 5 and 7, then multiply by 2. And so that means we would have to add what's in parentheses first and then take that answer and multiply. All right, now we have a new written expression that we need to write as a numerical expression. We are going to subtract the product of 6 and 8 from 100. So I know subtraction is going to take place and product tells us that we're going to be multiplying. But I have to subtract the product. So in order to be able to subtract the product, I have to be able to find that product first. So we're subtracting from 100, so we want to make sure that we write 100 first, and then our subtraction or our minus sign. And product means we're multiplying, so we have to find the product of 6 and 8 first. So we want to put that in parentheses, 6 times 8. So that way we'll multiply 6 times 8 first, and then we will subtract from 100. All right, now we have to write in word form. So if we look, I see that we have division and we have subtraction, but we do have a parentheses, and we want to make sure that we do our parentheses first. So in our parentheses, we're subtracting. And what is another word we could use besides just saying to subtract? We know that the answer to a subtraction problem is finding the difference. So we could say find the difference of 24 and 8, then divide by 2. If we're dividing by 2, that's the same thing as dividing in half also, so that's another way that you could represent dividing by 2. All right, so let's continue filling in our blank. So we have the word form, we need to write the numerical expression. So I see add 17 and 13, then divide by 2. So then is telling me they want division to happen second. So I'm going to put 17 and plus 13 in my parentheses to make sure that that happens first before we divide by 2. All right, now we have to write in word form. Well, we have addition happening in our parentheses, and then we have multiplication taking place. So when we add, we are finding the sum. So we can say find the sum of 25 and 25, then multiply by 2. And when we multiply by 2, that's the same as doubling it. So we could even say find the sum of 25 and 25, then double the sum, because that would still give us the same result. All right, subtract the product of 6 and 5 from 50. So since it's from 50, we know that we're starting with 50 and we're subtracting, but we don't know what the product is just yet. So that's something that we'll have to work out first. So we're going to put parentheses, so that way we will multiply first, and once we multiply, we can then subtract from 50. All right, so let's take a look at this next expression. What has to happen first in order to solve this correctly? Well, the parentheses is a clue that we need to work out what's in the parentheses first. So we are going to subtract the, what are we subtracting? When we're adding, that is the sum. So subtract the sum of 8 and 6 from 40, since that's what they are subtracting this from. And last, we're going to subtract 15 from 25, then multiply by 6. So we are starting with 25, and we're subtracting 15. But the word then is telling us that multiplication needs to happen second. So we're going to put this in parentheses so it'll happen first, and then multiply by 6. So you just have to pay close attention to the wording in these expressions to make sure you get it set up correctly. So recapping what we've practiced, here's an example. Write a numerical expression for the phrase below, 12 plus the quotient of 8 and 4. So you really have to think about what the words mean. We know that 12 and plus means that we have to add. The quotient, that's an answer to a division problem, so you know we're going to be doing some dividing. And 8 and 4 are going to be our numbers in that division problem, since we're trying to find the quotient of 8 and 4. So since you add 12 to the quotient of 8 and 4, you need to first divide 8 by 4. Because if we're adding the quotient, we have to be able to find that quotient first so we can add it. Use parentheses to show that you do the division first. So the numerical expression would be 12 plus, and then in parentheses we would have 8 divided by 4. That means 8 divided by 4 would happen first, and then we could add that to 12. Good job, guys. Thanks for working hard today.